restless nights, worries, and troubles, all because of the label of being a grown man. The weight of responsibility has settled on his shoulders, dragging along unseen burdens that grow heavier with time. People often say that youth is about being reckless, chasing after desires, and indulging in whatever one wants. But some people don't have a foundation to push off from, no springboard to leap forward. They start with their own hands, carrying nothing but the resilience forged through hardship, the maturity that comes before its time, and a silent perseverance in the face of difficulties. For them, there is no solid foundation, no material wealth, only happiness when achieving something. The road they take, from the moment they set foot on it, is uncertain and unstable, with no guiding lighthouse to point the way. Dreams and aspirations gradually fade like smoke, leaving only a flicker of light that occasionally appears. Then, they abandon personal goals and the desires they once burned for. Many things do not allow them to make choices for themselves, not even choosing their own partner. Why? Because reaching a stable destination requires an immense amount of time and effort. The simple act of earning a daily meal and supporting a family already exhausts them. Thinking about themselves is a luxury they cannot afford. Their life is one of sacrifice, filled with hardships, yet never for their own benefit. Their happiness comes from seeing others happy. Meanwhile, their own selves remain lost, struggling to find a place of belonging amidst the chaos of life. That's how it is. Please try to understand and empathize if they sometimes reveal their exhaustion. Because we only get one life to live, and if we live it without being true to ourselves, then perhaps we haven't truly lived at all. He sat alone by the window, watching the rain pouring down outside, and suddenly let out a long sigh over the past. He once thought that certain people and memories would never fade. But as time passed, he realized that everything eventually becomes a thing of the past. We all have moments when we nostalgically think about things that no longer belong to us. It could be unfinished conversations, unfulfilled promises, or the paths we once walked with someone. We hold on to memories in our hearts, unable to let go, unable to turn back. But one day, we will no longer feel anger, resentment, or even sadness when we think about certain names. It's not that we've forgotten, but we no longer see them as important parts of our lives. Like old books, we can flip through them, but we no longer wish to read them again. Life continues, even if sometimes we pause too long on a particular chapter. But time never waits for anyone. The flow of people continues. Life pushes forward, whether we want it to or not. And eventually, even the things we once thought we could never forget will no longer cause an ache in our hearts. The roads we walked, the songs we once kept replaying, the messages we held on to for so long will all become distant. We can't wait forever for something to change. We can't wait forever for someone to come back. One day, we will learn to accept and let go. Not because we never loved, but because growing up teaches us that some things, no matter how much we hold on to them, will never return to the way they once were. Let the past sleep peacefully, and let yourself move forward, light and free, without carrying burdens from yesterday. The weight of life and the art of letting go. There are moments in life when the weight of responsibility feels overwhelming, pressing down on our shoulders like an invisible burden. For many, growing up means stepping into a world where expectations are high and sacrifices are inevitable. The journey of becoming an adult is not always about reckless youth, indulgence, or freedom. Some people never have the privilege of a carefree childhood or the luxury of making mistakes without consequences. For them, life begins with nothing but their own two hands. There is no safety net, no guidance, just the sheer determination to push forward. Their foundation is not built on material wealth, but on perseverance and resilience. They learn to endure hardships, to mature before their time, and to suppress their emotions in favor of survival. Happiness, for them, is not found in possessions, but in the small victories achieved through struggle. The paths they take are uncertain, filled with doubts and obstacles at every turn. Unlike others who may have clear directions and guiding lights, they navigate in the dark, hoping to find their way. Dreams, once vivid and full of hope, slowly fade like mist in the morning sun. The ambitions they once held so tightly slip away, replaced by the relentless demands of reality. Sacrifice becomes a daily ritual. They do not live for themselves, but for those who depend on them. Their own desires are set aside as they work tirelessly to provide for their families, to meet the expectations of society, and to secure a future for others. The thought of choosing personal happiness feels like an unattainable luxury. Love, passion, and self-fulfillment become distant concepts, things meant for someone else, not for them. And yet, deep within, there's an unspoken longing, a silent cry for understanding. If they sometimes seem exhausted, distant, or lost, it is not because they lack strength, but because they have given too much of themselves. They've spent years carrying burdens alone, never pausing to ask if they deserve more. If they falter, it is not a sign of weakness, but a reminder that even the strongest hearts need rest. But what happens when time moves forward, and all that was once significant begins to fade? The past, once a collection of vibrant memories, becomes a distant echo. There was a time when they believed certain people would stay forever, that some bonds were unbreakable. But time, relentless and indifferent, proves otherwise. People leave, promises remain unfulfilled, and the conversations that once held meaning dissolve into silence. We all hold on to memories, some painful, some beautiful. We cling to them as if they define us, afraid that letting go would mean losing a part of ourselves. But there comes a moment when we realize that the things we once thought were essential no longer hold the same weight. The names that once made our hearts ache no longer stir the same emotions. The wounds that once felt unbearable eventually heal, leaving only faint scars. It is not about forgetting. We do not erase the past, nor do we pretend it never existed. Instead, we reach a point where we no longer allow it to control us. Like a book we have read too many times, we can revisit those pages, but we no longer wish to linger in them. Life continues. It does not wait for us to be ready. The streets remain busy. The world keeps moving. And whether we choose to walk forward or stay behind, time does not pause. And so, we must learn to let go. Not because we did not love, not because it did not matter, but because holding on serves no purpose when the past cannot change. One day, we learn that love is not just about holding on, but also about knowing when to release. Growing up teaches us that some things, no matter how much we cherish them, will never return to what they once were. No amount of effort, no amount of longing can turn back time. So we let go. We let the past rest where it belongs. We stop waiting for people who have long moved on. We stop replaying old songs and rereading old messages. We stop searching for meaning in places that no longer exist. Instead, we take a step forward, lightly, freely, without the burdens of yesterday. Not because we never cared, but because we have learned that true strength lies in the ability to move on. And as we walk ahead, we realize that life was never meant to be lived looking backward. The future awaits, and the only way to embrace it is to leave the past where it belongs behind us.